It was too late to realize his mistake. She had found the love she truly deserved.
Have you lost your mind? That was the first word Ernest heard at the hotel lobby that morning. A small boy was holding open the glass door. A woman in black was arranging fresh flowers near the staircase. I stood at the entrance in a simple lace dress. I held a small bouquet of white roses. Beside me stood the man everyone had come to see me marry. But Ernest did not know that yet. He pushed past the security guard. He walked straight toward me. His eyes were wet. His hands were shaking. He looked at the man beside me, and then he looked back at my face. You married him? You married the quiet lawyer who destroyed my family? The whole room went silent. My aunt forgot she was holding a glass of champagne. My mother closed her eyes and whispered a prayer. My brother Emeka stepped forward, but he did not say a word. I had not seen Ernest in 11 months. I had not spoken to him in 11 months. But a phone call the night before had changed everything. Please come early tomorrow morning, David had said in the soft voice I had come to know so well. Come early. There is something I need to tell you before the wedding day begins. I did not know what he meant. I thought he wanted to show me a new scripture verse for the ceremony. I did not know my ex-husband had bribed someone at the reception desk just to stand there and wait. If this story touches your heart, please like this video, share it with someone you need by your side, and subscribe so we can keep telling stories like this one. My name is Ngozi. I am 36 years old. I live in Lagos, Nigeria. I teach primary school children and run a small food supply business. And I am about to tell you how I went from being the woman every family mocked to being the bride the same family could not stop staring at. But to understand that morning, you have to understand the years before it. So let me take you back. All the way back to the place where my story almost ended forever. I grew up in a small compound in Aka, Anambra State. My mother sold pepper in the market every morning. My father drove a taxi before the accident that left him with a weak leg he could never fully heal. I am the first daughter of 4 children. By 16, I was hawking groundnuts after school. By 20, I was paying my younger brother Emeka's secondary school fees with my own savings. By 22, I had built a small rice and beans business in the neighborhood. I woke up at 4 in the morning and I closed at 9 at night. I met Ernest when I was 24. He came to buy rice one Saturday morning. He had a clean car. He had a job at a bank. He smiled at me like I was the only woman standing in that market. My mother pulled me aside that evening. She said, Ngozi, slow down. A man who smiles too easily at strangers does not always mean well. But I was young. I was hungry for love. We dated for 2 years. He paid my brother's school fees once. He bought my mother a new wrapper at Christmas. I thought this man was my blessing. We had a church wedding in 2014. I wore a white lace gown. My mother cooked enough jollof rice for 200 people. For the first 3 years of our marriage, Ernest treated me like his queen. He called me during lunch breaks. He told his friends, "Without Ngozi, I am nothing." I believed him. I believed him so much that I put every savings I had into his real estate business. I co-signed loans with him. I helped him register properties. I even quit my teaching job for 2 years so I could run his office. That was my first mistake. The second mistake came when I started trusting his family more than my own. His mother, Mama Chioma, runs the family like a small kingdom. When I married Ernest, she welcomed me like a daughter she had always wanted. She kissed my cheeks. She sent plantain on Saturdays. Then she changed. It started when Ernest's younger sister, Amara, came back from abroad. She had been in the UK for 8 years. Suddenly, she had money, a new accent, and very loud opinions about how my home was run. Every little thing I did became wrong. I cooked jollof rice the wrong way. I greeted elders the wrong way. I raised my daughter Adaugo the wrong way. Mama Chioma started calling Amara my first daughter in front of me. Every month, Amara asked Ernest for money. 50,000 naira here, 100,000 naira there. Ernest would transfer it without blinking. When I asked him for money to pay our daughter's school fees, Ernest said, "We are tight this month." When Amara asked for 2 million naira to invest in a salon, Ernest gave it in 3 days. When I finally brought it up, Mama Chioma called me one evening and said, "Ngozi, your job is to support your husband, not to question him." I was paying my brother Emeka's university fees with my own business money. I had never asked Ernest for help. But when Mama Chioma heard about it, she told the family elders, "Ngozi is wasting her husband's money on her own family." That was the day I understood the truth. They were not upset because I had done anything wrong. They were upset because I refused to disappear. The strange things started in 2019. Ernest's phone started facing down at dinner. He took calls in the bathroom. He locked his laptop when I entered the room. One morning, I opened the wardrobe to get my wrapper and saw a woman's perfume bottle with a French label tucked behind his shirts. I had never used perfume like that in my life. He said it was a gift from a client. I did not push. Then came the family invitations. Mama Chioma organized Amara's introduction ceremony in Abuja that December. Drivers were hired. New uniforms were sewn. The whole family traveled. I was the only wife not invited. When I called Mama Chioma, she said, "It is a small family thing." That same week, I overheard Mama Chioma on a phone call with my mother-in-law's sister. She laughed and said, "We need to move this girl out before she takes anything else." Out of my own house. The house whose land I helped register. Then came a betrayal that I did not see for 2 years. Emeka later learned from a colleague at the local government office that Mama Chioma had personally walked into the civic registry with her cousin, a clerk named Mr. Udo, and obtained a duplicate of my old national ID. The clerk put the new copy inside an envelope marked with Ernest's initials. I never knew why my wallet was missing my ID card that morning in 2019. I thought I had lost it at the market. Mama Chioma had quietly stolen it from my wrapper that morning and used it to open the door for her son to forge my name. The mother I had been serving pepper soup every Sunday had been the first person to break my house. The betrayal came in March 2020. Ernest came home on a Friday evening. He kissed our daughter Adaugo on her forehead. He kissed my cheek. He handed me a brown envelope. Inside was a divorce petition, filed by him, dated 3 weeks earlier. The grounds were cruel. He accused me of negligence. He accused me of being a bad mother. I read the paper twice. My hands were shaking. I could not speak. He said, "I am not happy anymore, Ngozi. We should separate." I tried to fight it. I went to 3 lawyers. They all said, "Madam, the man has money. He will outlast you in court." I sold 2 plots of land my father left me. I went to court 6 times in 14 months. In June 2021, the judge ruled. Ernest got custody of Adaugo. He got the house. He got the cars. He got the joint accounts. I got 1 bag of clothes and 1 weekend with my own daughter. 6 months after the ruling, Ernest took out a loan in my name. He forged my signature. He used my old national ID card to register a new business with Amara listed as partner. When the bank called me about repayment, my name was already blacklisted across 3 banks. I sat in my small rented apartment that night. I could not pay my daughter's school fees. I could not even buy her a new school bag. I called my brother Emeka. He answered on the first ring. He said, "Sister, do not cry. We will find a way." I cried for 2 hours. Then I made a decision. I would not shout. I would not fight in the streets. I would quietly investigate. Emeka was a junior manager at a bank by then. He introduced me to a young lawyer named David. David worked in a small office in Ikeja. He wore simple clothes. He did not have a flashy car. He did not have a big signboard outside. At our first meeting, David asked me to lay out every document I had. I brought divorce papers, bank statements, property papers, chat screenshots, voice notes, and a small notebook I had been keeping for 2 years. At the end of 2 hours, he looked at me and said, "Madam Ngozi, you are not the problem here. You are the victim. Give me 3 months." The first clue came from a GT Bank officer Ernest had never met by name. Ernest had opened a joint account with Amara 6 months before filing for divorce. The second clue came from the Corporate Affairs Commission. Ernest had transferred 3 properties to Amara's name during the case. The third clue came from a security camera at a hotel in Victoria Island. Ernest and Amara had been staying there almost every weekend for almost 2 years. The fourth clue came from Amara's own cousin. He had screenshots of WhatsApp messages in which Amara bragged about finally taking everything from that village girl. The village girl was me. Then came the first twist I did not see coming. David called one Tuesday evening and said, "Someone else helped Ernest forge your signature." It was not only Amara. It was Ernest's younger brother, Chidi, the one in America. Bank surveillance at the GT Bank branch showed him at the counter on a Friday afternoon. They showed him signing my name on the transfer slip with his own hand. Ernest had promised him a piece of the Lagos property after the case was over. But I had not yet seen the worst. 6 weeks before the final hearing, David came to me looking worried. He said, "Ernest is bringing a new witness against you. A woman named Mrs. Okafor. She will testify that you are an unfit mother." I had never met Mrs. Okafor in my life. But when the day arrived, she walked into the courtroom wearing a new dress and a thick gold chain. She spoke with confidence and said she was a family friend. David stood up slowly. Amara's cousin came back to the stand. This time, he brought photographs. Photographs of Ernest and Mrs. Okafor together inside the same Victoria Island hotel. Photographs of them boarding a flight to Dubai the year before. Mrs. Okafor was not a family friend. Mrs. Okafor was Ernest's mistress. Every word she had said about me was a script Ernest had paid her to read aloud. The courtroom went silent. For the first time in my life, I saw Ernest's face lose its color. Then came the second twist that almost killed me. 3 days after that hearing, I received an official letter at my apartment door. It was from the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development. It said I had to report for a family assessment within 7 days. It said there were concerns about my mental health and my ability to care for Adaugo. David already knew the truth. He called me that same night. He said, "Ernest paid a doctor at a small clinic in Yaba to type up a false medical report saying you had been treated for mental illness for 2 years. The doctor is his drinking partner. They play pool together every Saturday at a bar on Awolowo Road. I have already spoken to the doctor's receptionist. The man I had given 12 years of my youth was trying to take my own daughter from me by labeling me crazy in a government file. Then came the third twist that poisoned my daughter. The headmistress at Adaugo's school called Emeka. She said she had refused to sign a paper Ernest's principal friend had written. The paper said my daughter was failing in her class. The date at the top was 6 months old. Ernest had been quietly building a case to take Adaugo long before the divorce was even filed. Then David told me a quieter twist. He called me one Saturday afternoon and said, "Madam, the judge who will hear your final case received a visitor on Thursday." The visitor carried an envelope. The visitor's name is my own elder brother. David paused. My brother came home from Qatar last month. Ernest sent him 100,000 naira to come back to Lagos for one dinner. He is not part of my office, but the bribe was real. I have already sent the bank record to the police. His own blood had been used to reach his conscience. It had not worked. Then came the fourth twist that made me homeless. My landlady, Mrs. Adebayo, called my phone at 11 p.m. She said, "Madam Ngozi, you must leave this house tonight. I have new tenants moving in." My rent was paid until October. Mrs. Adebayo was a distant cousin of my late father. She had taken 25,000 naira from Ernest. My own blood cousin had taken Ernest's money to make me homeless on a Thursday night. I carried Adaugo on my back. I packed 2 small bags. Emeka drove across town with no questions asked. He said, "Sister, stay with me and my wife until we find another place." Then came the twist that finally broke my heart. David called me again. He said, "For 2 months, a junior lawyer named Tochukwu, who works next door to me, has been copying parts of your case file and putting them inside a brown envelope. He leaves the envelope under a bench at Yaba Junction every Friday at 6 p.m. A man in a black shirt collects it. I knew Tochukwu. He had carried my boxes of documents home for me once. He had eaten dinner at Emeka's house. David said, "But this is the part that will finally break Ernest." Inside his desk drawer, his people found a marriage certificate. It said Ernest married a woman called Sandra Obi on the 14th of February 2020 in Abeokuta. The witness columns were filled with 3 false names. He had been a bigamist for 11 months before I even saw the divorce petition. A whole double marriage. A whole fake ceremony with a paid stranger. Then came the deepest cut of all. David told me that Sandra had been a hired actress from a small theater group in Abeokuta. She was paid 40,000 naira to wear a white dress and read vows she never understood. She had never met Ernest before that morning. She had been crying on the way back to the bus station because she felt sorry for the unknown wife. Sandra still lived in a single room in Sapon. She had no idea how much her one-day vows had hurt me for more than 1 full year. The final hearing came in July 2022. This time, Ernest arrived with Amara, with Mama Chioma, with Chidi's lawyer on a video call from Maryland, and with Mrs. Okafor still wearing her new dress. I arrived with David, with Emeka, with my mother, with Adaugo in her small blue dress, with a senior police officer from the state's CID, with the deputy director of the Ministry of Social Development herself, and with the headmistress who carried the small envelope in her bag. The judge read the verdict. The court found Ernest guilty of fraudulent property transfer.
The court found Amara guilty of receiving stolen property. The court found Ernest guilty of forging documents. The court found Chidi guilty of conspiracy. The court found Mrs. Okafor guilty of perjury and contempt of court. The court found the Yaba doctor guilty of issuing a false medical report. The court found Tochukwu guilty of obstruction of justice. The court ruled the bigamous marriage certificate void from the very moment it was stamped. The court also named Mr. Udo, the civic registry clerk, as a co-conspirator in the national ID forgery. Mama Chioma's name was entered into the court record as the woman who obtained the duplicate. All 3 properties were ordered returned to our joint estate. The forged loan was nullified. My name was removed from the blacklist.
The court ordered Ernest to surrender custody of Adago immediately. Ernest tried to argue. He raised his voice. He said, "My lord, this is not fair." The judge looked at him over his glasses and said, "Mr. Ernest, sit down. You spent 15 months trying to destroy an innocent woman, an innocent child, and a government ministry. You used your brother in America. You used your mistress. You used a hired actress in a fake wedding dress to make yourself a bigamist. You used your father's cousin to make a mother and her daughter homeless on a Thursday night. You tried to reach the lawyer sitting next to her through his own brother. You paid a school principal to lie about your own daughter. You paid a clerk in a civic registry to steal an innocent woman's identity through your own mother. Sit down." The courtroom went silent. I did not celebrate. I did not smile. I did not shout. I did not post the verdict online. I held my daughter's hand and walked out of the courthouse. That night, I read the verdict one more time, page by page, line by line. Every betrayal had been answered in writing. The auntie, the mistress, the doctor, the brother, the fake wife, the principal, the landlady, the junior lawyer, the civic clerk, my own mother-in-law. Every single one. My marriage had not failed because I was a bad wife. My marriage had failed because my husband had planned for it to fail. He had been planning for years. The next morning, Mama Chioma called. She sent a message. "Ngozi, please forgive us." I read it. I put my phone down. A week later, I replied, "Mama, I forgive you, but I cannot forget." After a few more days, Mrs. Adebayo also called. She was crying. She said, "Ngozi, please forgive me. I took Ernest's money and threw you out at night." I said, "Auntie, I forgive you, but do not come back to my life." The aftermath was louder than I thought. Amara lost the salon. Her UK visa was revoked at the airport. Ernest lost all 3 properties. He sold his car to pay his legal fees. He moved to a smaller apartment in Surulere. Chidi's bank accounts were flagged. He lost his job at the shipping company in Maryland. Mama Chioma's reputation in the family changed overnight. The cousins stopped answering her calls. The uncles stopped visiting her house. I stayed quiet. I rebuilt my teaching career. I reopened my food business under a new name. Emeka helped me open a clean bank account. Adalgo came back to live with me full-time. I did not dance. I did not open champagne. I sat in my small kitchen, cooked jollof rice for my daughter and my brother, and thanked God for the truth that finally set me free. In 2023, I opened a small learning center for primary school children in our neighborhood. 3 classrooms, 2 teachers, 32 students. Emeka managed the books. In 2024, Emeka was promoted to senior manager. He still drove the same old car. He still wore simple clothes. In 2025, I started a community support program for women who had been through divorce or family betrayal. We met every Saturday morning. We shared stories, food, and free legal advice. I had no mansion. I had no luxury car. I had no foreign travel. But I had peace. There is something else I must tell you. About 3 months after the court case ended, David called me one quiet evening. He said, "Madam Ngozi, I need to ask you something, but please hear me out before you answer." I said, "Go ahead, David." He said, "Will you marry me?" I laughed. Then I cried. Then I asked, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want this woman with all her bags and her loud brother and her mother who sells pepper in the market?" He said, "I have been sure since the day Ernest tried to send my own brother to bribe me. That is the day I knew what kind of woman you are." We did a small church wedding in Lagos in 2026. Only family. Only close friends. Only the people who had stood by me during the worst years of my life. Ernest did not know about the wedding. No one in his family was invited. But someone told him anyway. Someone told him who I was marrying. Someone told him the man standing beside me at the altar was the same quiet lawyer he had tried to bribe and destroy. That is why he walked into the hotel lobby that morning. That is why he pushed past the security guard. That is why his hands were shaking when he saw the man next to me and realized who he was. That is why he said the words that silenced the room. "You married him?" The truth is very simple. I did not marry a rich man. I did not marry a foreign man. I did not marry a man with mansions or foreign cars. I married the quiet lawyer who had stood between me and my ex-husband's money. I married the man Ernest had tried to buy. I married the man who returned the bribe and reported it to the police. I married my freedom. And the man who tried to break me had to stand in a crowded hotel lobby and watch the woman he threw away become the bride he could no longer afford to ignore. If you remember one thing from my story, please remember this. Sometimes the people you trust the most are planning your destruction in silence. Sometimes the people who share your blood are the first ones to take money to break your house. Sometimes the person standing inside your own camp is the one feeding your enemies. And sometimes the person you have never met is the one God is sending to save you. But above all, please remember this. Losing the people you trusted can become the first step toward finding yourself. Be patient. Be calm. Be wise. Follow the paper trail. The truth always wins in the end. And never, ever let anyone make you feel too small to rebuild your life from scratch.